field has been cut in half, and still 3 Greater Thumb Conference and 6 NCTL teams are still alive. The first week of the postseason is complete, and the road to Ford Field is 1 mile marker closer. Good evening and welcome to the WLW Sports Network's presentation of The Strongside on Sports Radio 1021. I'm Clark Ramsey, your host, and joining me tonight is a true professional. He even has license to prove it. Please welcome Dave Hansen.
Thanks, Clark. Happy to be here, and boy, did our Greater Thumb Conference and 8-player teams put on a show for us this weekend.
Also in studio with us is the sports editor of the Huron Daily Tribune. It's Paul P. Adams.
Oh, it's good to be back, and the playoffs is the best time of the year, and if the first week is any indication, this is going to be an awesome ride.
The outcomes from Friday could not have been any closer for some of our area teams, including North Huron, Harbor Beach, and especially the Lakers of Elkton, Pigeon Bayport.
Well, that's why you can just ignore the records from the regular season. It's all nice and well, but when you get to the postseason, everything, all the pressure ramps up, and I think we saw that a little bit with some of our teams.
We certainly did, but we did see some of our teams we thought would be big favorites that had struggled throughout most of the game, but good teams always find ways to win.
Tonight's edition of The Strong Side is being presented on the WLW Sports Network by Active Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine, McCormick Motors of Pigeon, Rainey's Hunting Center, Thumb National Bank and Trust, and sure, better health, better life. Are you sure? Left side or right side, you're listening to The Strong Side. Left side or right side, you're listening to The Strong Side with Clark Ramsey, Dave Hansen from the Huron Daily Tribune. It's Paul P. Adams. The first week of the postseason is behind us, and on to week number 2, week number 11 of high school football in the state of Michigan. Let's take a look at the scoreboard from the first week of the postseason. First in the Division I of 8-player football, that is the larger schools of 8-player football. And the biggest surprise, Lawrence doing a favor for Deckerville. Lawrence takes out Camden Frontier. Lawrence, the only losing team in the playoffs at 4-5, taking out the 9-0 Camden Frontiers, 24-20. Bellevue, 48-8, takes out Weberville. Deckerville cruises over Mayville, 66-28, and Morris over Kingston revenges that loss, 58-28.
Well, obviously, Deckerville is going to send a bouquet of flowers to Lawrence for taking out Camden Frontier, because now the road through the 8-player Division I definitely goes through Deckerville. So that's a huge thing. But Deckerville, they can't worry about that because they got a red-hot Morris team that absolutely dismantled Kingston. I mean, the first time around, that was Kingston winning that game, and Morris said, you're not winning this time around. Beats them by 30. That's probably even more surprising to me than Camden Frontier losing to Lawrence.
Well, keep in mind, and Kingston only had scored 8 points in the first 3 quarters of this game. They put up 20 spot late in that game just to keep the running clock off. So Morris is certainly ready to go. A game that would be a lot of fun to see if you be there. Deckerville-Morris rematch from 4 or 5 weeks ago. But it just goes to show you some of these teams, just because they say 9-0 doesn't mean that they're a really good team playing really good competition. We know Lawrence at 4-5 played a very tough schedule in that conference. So not totally surprised that they upset Camden Frontier. It just goes to show you can't look at their record anymore now they're in the playoffs. It's mano-a-mano, and this time Lawrence was able to make the upset, helping all of us out. I know we're all smiling.
Morris was leading that game against Kingston after the third quarter, 42-8, before the 16 and 20 points were put up in the fourth quarter. In 8-player Division II, this is the bigger schools. North Huron takes out Peck in a back-and-forth game. We'll have more on this one later in the show. 28-20, North Huron over Peck. The Bay City All Saints, coming off of a loss from North Huron the week before, takes out Marion the Librarian by just 2 points, 44-42. It was 28-16 at the half. On the other side of the bracket, Portland St. Patrick beats North Adams Jerome 44-6, and they will take on Flint International, who took out Battle Creek St. Philip 36-24. So up next, we have North Huron against All Saints and Flint International against Portland St. Patrick.
Oh, that North Huron All Saints game was a dandy the first time around. I think it's shaping up to be that way again. North Huron's definitely got their hands full the way the All Saints ended that game, and then Flint International takes down a quality Battle Creek St. Philip team. We're going to really see what that NCTL Stars is made of with that matchup against Portland St. Patrick. But if I'm North Huron, if they could find a way to win that rematch, they're definitely cheering for Flint International because that would mean they would get to host the semifinal.
It certainly could be good for both teams. Flint International, very impressive, beating Battle Creek St. Philip, as you mentioned. Wanted to highlight that again. That's a quality 8-player playoff team, standard team. You see them in the playoffs every year. So for Flint International to go ahead and beat them, that's an impressive win. And as much as that game in Portland St. Patrick could be a good one, I know for us, we're looking at a North Huron Bay City All Saints rematch. It was, like you said, so good the first time. I don't see it being any different this time around.
In 11-player football, Division 7, that involves USA Cass City Lakers from our local area. Cass City blanks the USA Patriots, shuts them out 28-0. In that one. Lakers in Flint Hamady. We'll cover this one in about 15 minutes. Lakers squeaks one out with a last-minute touchdown to take the lead, facing a 4th down and 9, and they beat Flint Hamady 14-7, coming from behind. New Lothrop takes on Sanarak, and New Lothrop wins 39-14. And PEWAMO Powamo Westphalia. Powamo Westphalia takes out Grand Rapids North Point Christian 38-7. So now New Lothrop against Powamo Westphalia, and Cass City going against Lakers.
We talked about this last week. Not surprised both of those two teams move on. That's New Lothrop and Powamo. And looking at it, that's going to be a really good football team. But unfortunately for our area teams, we're going to see the classic Lakers-Cass City rematch, which we will be at covering that game. And the winner is only going to have to beat one of these New Lothrop-Powamo teams, so which is always a benefit. But looking at this, we've always had New Lothrop's number. I think our Greater Thumb Conference would like to see New Lothrop win that game, but Powamo's going to be a tough out.
I was just going to say, Dave, I don't think New Lothrop is going to survive Powamo Westphalia. If they're anything close to what we saw last year in the state semifinals, a physical team that really reminds you of a Thumb team. They really played a physical brand of football. That's the kind of team that New Lothrop really struggles with, and I would not be surprised at all to see Powamo win that game. And if you're Cass City or Lakers, you want to see Powamo win that game because that means you get to host that regional final. So, selfishly, I'm hoping Powamo pulls that off so we don't have to have a trip to New Lothrop.
In Division 8, just one local game. That was the game of the week. Ubley and Harbor Beach. The final score there were the Pirates 30-22 over the Bearcats, taking 2 victories over the Bearcats this season. And on the other side of the bracket, Saginaw Novell takes out Mount Pleasant Sacred Heart 29-7. So Harbor Beach and Ubley Harbor Beach and Saginaw Novell squaring off in Saginaw this coming Friday. Let's take a look at that ball game on Friday as the Ubley Bearcats travel to Harbor Beach on a cold, wet, rainy, slippery night on the shores of Lake Huron. In the first quarter, absolutely no scoring. The first quarter started with Ubley winning the toss and going on the offensive, and they get stopped on 4th down, turnover downs, 2 punts ensue, and that takes us to the second quarter with 50 seconds into the second quarter when Cole Anderson caps off an 8-play, 3-minute, 34-second drive covering 67 yards with a 4-yard run. 2-point conversion fails at 6-0 Harbor Beach. 7 minutes later, 4:35 left in the first. Ubley's Matt Mychek with the quarterback keeper from 2 yards out. The 2-point conversion for Sweeney is good, and the Bearcats are leading 8-6 after a 13-play, 6.5-minute drive covering 60 yards. Less than a minute to play in the first half, and Cole Anderson with his second score of the night, a 13-yard run. The 2-point conversion's good with Shelke on the keeper. Makes it 14-8 Pirates, and they're feeling good going into the half, but not so fast. Casey Sweeney muffs the reception on the kickoff, picks it back up, breaks about 4 tackles, breaks through in a 65-yard plus kick return for Casey Sweeney as he takes it to the house. 2-point conversion for Mychek is good, and the Bearcats lead at the half, 16-14. In the third quarter, halfway through, 6:48 left, Harbor Beach's James Shelke throws an interception at the goal line and intercepted by Anthony Sweeney just as momentum was swinging the Pirates' way. But Ubley cannot do anything with it, and with 2:16 left in the third quarter, Matt Mychek slips in the backfield facing a 4th down, and it's a turnover of downs for the Bearcats, giving the ball back to Harbor Beach with good field position at the 37-yard line of Ubley's territory. 10:16 left in the fourth quarter, ensuing drive. James Shelke caps it off with a 7-yard keeper to put Harbor Beach ahead 22-16. 6:45 left in the fourth quarter. Ubley evens the score with an Ethan Lemke dive, 22-22. 4 minutes later, Harbor Beach marches down the field when, with 2 minutes and 39 seconds left, James Shelke runs in from 20 yards out. 2-point conversion's good on a Shelke keeper as well. Final score, Harbor Beach 30, Ubley 22.
Wow, what a ball game. Now, it rained from the second we got there until the game was over when we left. So the field was as good as it looked from a distance. It was was slippery. It was crazy. So your side to side, your outside runs, it was hard to plant and change directions. And I mentioned that right out of the get-go because that is everything James Schelke wants to do to you. They want to spread you guys out, and then they want to go after you and get those guys in open space, which is why we really thought Ubley had a very good chance of winning this game because that favors the Bearcats in their power running game. And guy by the name of Cole Anderson would not be denied. He had probably his best game that I'm aware of in a Harbor Beach uniform, and not just because he had over 100 yards rushing and scored twice, but he led the team in tackles on defense. He was all over the place, both sides of the ball. You couldn't go a couple minutes without mentioning Cole Anderson's name, and I just wanted to make sure that was pointed out that he had a heck of a ball game. And as good as James Schelke plays, and he always plays, and everybody else played, he was absolutely outstanding.
You go back for me. I had to obviously leave this game listening to you guys, and I was thinking the same. 14-8 going into halftime. I knew Harbor Beach was getting the ball to start the second half. I'm like, this is exactly what Harbor Beach needed. If they score that first possession of the second half, this is probably ball game. That kickoff return for Casey Sweeney, that gave Ubley new life and really put Harbor Beach back on its heels. However, Harbor Beach answers with a really nice drive to start the half, and you're thinking, okay, they're going to shake this thing off and they're going to take the lead. Schelke throws an uncharacteristic interception, and oh boy, momentum goes right back to Ubley, and I don't fault Ubley at all. I know they were on their side of the field in that 4th and short, 4th and 2 situation. You can maybe question the play call, but all day long, Ubley was able to get the 2 to 3 to 4 yards that they needed, and I thought their best defense was to keep their offense on the field. They just couldn't shut down Harbor Beach's offense when they needed to. I would have gone for that play 10 out of 10 times, maybe called a different play, but definitely would have tried to convert that 4th down. But you knew you're risking, if you don't convert it, you're giving Harbor Beach 37 yards to work with, and it took them no time at all. But then again, credit to Ubley. Even though they gave up a score there, they come right back. It was just everything you could want from these two rivals. They had an answer every time for each other.
I believe it was 4th down and 1, and there's no doubt in my mind, too, that you go for it in that situation. You only need a yard. Your team's been able to get those yards when they need it. There was very few plays for a loss in this game by either team. So it's like, gosh, we can get off the line of scrimmage and get through that hole. And to me, the guy that needed to get the ball, there's Anthony Sweeney, and I'll never criticize the play call because when you look at the Bearcats offense, and when they need a play, Matt Mychek has been that guy. And so I am not surprised that he got the ball, but the way the field conditions were, he tackled himself. He planted that foot. He's seen the opening that he needed, and it would have been a first down in my opinion. But when that foot came out, one knee went to the ground, play was over, and then lost at 2 yards, and now Harbor Beach has the ball, and I think that was a huge moment in this game. But it was just, the feel was awesome because it was like watching a tennis match almost, but way more exciting. But it was back and forth. I mean, Harbor Beach has got momentum. Ubley's got momentum. Who's going to win this game? But you look down at the stats, and I'm seeing Harbor Beach with 19 first downs in this game. Ubley had 9. Harbor Beach accumulated 300 yards of offense and change. The Bearcats at 170. So just, watching the game, you listening to the game, being at the game, it just felt like anybody could win this game. And I looked down at the stat sheet and go, Harbor Beach annihilated them in every category. And a turnover is a big deal, and an offense that just didn't have that
special teams. That special teams play.
Special teams saved the Bearcats this game, gave them a chance to win, and that's what teams do. And the Bearcats are always tough. They always play in-your-face football, and it was, like I said, they didn't quite trust their defense because Harbor Beach had things going. They become very difficult to stop. But credit to the Bearcats. They played a heck of a ball game, and even though the stats didn't show that the game was in their favor, there was many times I thought, man, Clark's going to win this one. Bearcats got it. And then Harbor Beach would answer. And it was just a very fun game. And if they were playing again on Friday night, these two teams, I'd love to be there and do it again.
Yeah, I think this one actually topped the first time around, and the first time around gave us a lot of great memories. But this one, with just the way that each team was able to match each other, almost play for play, despite the fact that Harbor Beach outgained Ubley by so many yards, and that Ubley was right in this game right until the end. This was everything you could hope for from two rivals meeting for only the second time in the playoffs.
I liked one more thing here. I liked that the coaching staff really noticed something with Anthony Sweeney. They put him in the backfield in the middle of that game, and he may have only had 5 carries, but he had 25 yards, and he's running like a man possessed. And I thought that was a big change for the Bearcats. It kind of sparked their offense in the middle of the game, a pick-me-up, and because he's not a guy that's got a ton of carries throughout the year, and he did a really nice job. And I think it was Ryan Sweeney. I know it's easy to confuse.
It was one of the Sweeneys, let me put it that way.
If you wrote down Sweeney at the interception, you're probably right, because I think there's 4 of them playing defense. I think it was Ryan Sweeney, though, picked off that pass. It was one of the few bad decisions that James Shelke's probably made all year, and his defense was able to pick him up, give him the ball back, and he drives right down and scores. And I think that's what good teams do. They help each other out, and 2 very quality football teams here. It's sad to see one of them out of the playoffs already, but it was a big-time win for the Pirates.
The two-headed monster of Harbor Beach was James Shelke and Cole Anderson coming from the backfield, each with 23 carries. Shelke with 132 yards, Anderson with 113, both 2 rushing touchdowns for each. James Shelke threw the air 50%, 4 for 8, and 1 interception for 53 yards, and only had more passing yards at 58 yards on 3 of 5 passing. Harbor Beach now travels to Saginaw-Novell this coming Friday to take on the 10-0 Panthers, a game which should be very interesting. We'll have more on that later on. It's time for a short break. This past segment of the Strong Side was being presented by Active Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine. Life is painfully enough. No need to feel it in your back, too. That's Active Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine, just west of the light in Bad Axe, in a second location in Sandusky. When we return, we'll take a look at Flint Hamady and Lakers right here on Sports Radio 102.1. Listen to the WLW Sports Network in more ways than ever before. Tune to Sports Radio 102.1. Download the Cruise 102 app on your Apple or Android device, or listen live and worldwide at WLWsports.com. You're listening to The Strong Side on Sports Radio 102.1 with Clark Ramsey, Dave Hansen, and from the Huron Daily Tribune, it's Paul P. Adams. We've discussed Harbor Beach and Ubly, the game we had on Sports Radio 102.1, and now the other game that was a nail-biter, perhaps even more, as this one was a wild one. It started out with 9:55 left in the first quarter. Lakers and Flint Hamady taken to the field, and Flint Hamady throws a 22-yard pass to Brewster. The PAT is good, making it 7-0 Flint Hamady. No big deal, right? Well, that was the score all the way until 25 seconds left in this ball. Well, excuse me, no, I take that back. I was getting ahead of myself. 1:19 left in this first half, and Lakers finally gets on the board with a Preston Warren 19-yard run, and that score sticks all the way until the very end of the fourth quarter. And the third quarter, Flint Hamady throws an interception brought in by Minetti. Hamady fumbles the ball, recovered by Preston Warren. Still, it's 7-6 Flint Hamady entering the final 12 minutes. 10 seconds into the fourth quarter, Lakers facing a 4th and 14 at Flint Hamady's 15, and Wisner throws an interception. 3 minutes later, Lakers converts on a 4th and 9 with a Warren 10-yard gain. But then Lakers, 4 minutes later, with an incomplete pass on a 4th down, a turnover of downs give Flint Hamady the ball back. But with 2:39 left in regulation, Flint Hamady has to punt it back to Lakers, and they start their drive at the 11-yard line. They march down the field, Matt Stafford-esque, and with 34 seconds left in the game, the Lakers facing a 4th and 9, and Brennan Wisner throws a 23-yard pass to Preston Warren for the go-ahead score. The 2-point conversion is good to Warren as well. It's 14-7 Lakers. And Flint Hamady starts the drive at the Laker 45. They get a couple more passes in, pass complete, but they're tackled out of bounds as time expires. Final score, Lakers survive 14-7 over Flint Hamady.
Did not expect this score at all. The Lakers offense has been the best offense we've seen all year. It was the best in the Greater Thumb Conference, scoring over 40 points a game coming in. But Lakers also had the best defense in the conference. Mm-hmm. And this game showed me a lot that Lakers was not at their best offensively. Not at all. However, that defense was up to the challenge. This was a very good, very fast, athletic Flint Hamady team. And unlike the conditions we were dealing with over in Harbor Beach, there were no such conditions over at Lakers. That game was dry, so it was a fast track. And I thought the Lakers defense really stepped up, and you got to give credit. End of that game, you put it in the hands of your senior quarterback. He rolled out. I did see the replay of this on Thumb Tailgater. Shout out to Eddie Fury for filming that. And Brendan Wisner knew he was going to get lit up when he let that pass go, which he did with a man in his face, and was still able to complete that to Preston Warren. So that's what senior leaders do when the game was on the line, and Brendan Wisner was able to do that.
Well, I couldn't believe looking at the stat line of this game afterward. I thought it was like an Oprah TV show, an interception for you and an interception for you. And I mean, there was more turnovers in this game than I think Lakers probably had all season long. And I mean that because Hamady had at least 4 interceptions that they threw. They at least fumbled it once. There's 5 turnovers that I counted, and that's all that I'm aware of Hamady had. So the Lakers defense, this is par for the course, and they've been doing this all year. So not surprised that Hamady wasn't able to move the ball, and when they tried to do things out of their element, tried to throw the ball down their throats, that Lakers secondary was up for it, and you know that pass rush was there all game long. So yes, the score bothers me, but from what I'm not seeing in the stat sheet, don't see Jake Kretschmer in that stat sheet. So obviously he's still battling some sort of injury. So that really takes away the top end speed. You take a fast car and take the fastest 2 gears out of that car. It's still a nice car, but it just doesn't have that explosive feel to it, and that's what Lakers was missing on Friday night. But they got another week to adjust. I don't know, the situation with Kretschmer. We obviously hope he can play because we want to see Lakers play at their best, and Cass City wants them at their best. But nonetheless, they're going to have to find ways to move the ball a little more like Ubley, so to speak, and be happy with 3 or 4 yards at a time and manufacture first downs. And if they can do that, I still think Lakers is the best team in our area, potentially.
Well, and you take that offense away from them. It didn't hurt them on defense. And so Cass City's still going to have to find a way to muster up points against a defense that was probably played its best game of the year, without question, with what they were able to do. And, hey, if Jake Kretschmer can't go again, then they might have to lean on that defense once again. And hopefully, Preston Warren has a similar kind of game. 21 carries, 81 yards. That's in the game-winning catch. Preston Warren was all over the place on this field, really trying to fill that void of Jake Kretschmer, and I think he did as well as he could do.
For the Lakers, they were led by Preston Warren with 21 carries for 81 yards and 1 touchdown. Brendan Wisner, 14 carries for 40 yards, and Taylor Cady, 11 carries for 39 yards. Very limited action for Jake Kretschmer as he's facing that ankle injury. Brendan Wisner through the air, 8 for 22 for 118 yards and 1 touchdown. Lakers defense getting it done, though. Corey Minetti, 5.5 tackles, 1 interception. Blake Smithers, 3.5 tackles. Cody Brownell, 3.5. Andrew Siegfried with 2 interceptions. Preston Warren with 1 fumble recovery. Flint Hamady with 4 turnovers and 12 penalties in this ball game. Talk about ugly for Flint Hamady. But regardless, the Lakers advance and they take on Cass City this coming Friday, a game you will hear on Sports Radio 102.1. And we cannot make this clear enough. This game is in Cass City due to playoff points. Despite Lakers beating Cass City earlier in the year, Lakers travels to Cass City this coming Friday to take on the Red Hawks for the District Championship in Division 7. And the game you'll hear on the WLW Sports Network for the most in-depth and best coverage of this ball game. You'll want to tune in to Sports Radio 102.1 live and worldwide at WLWsports.com. The other side of that ball, we have Cass City and USA squaring off, and it was all Cass City blanking the USA Patriots. It was 7-0 after the first quarter with a Luke Stern 35-yard run. PAT was good, making it 7-0. Second quarter, 2:21 before the half is over. Brendan Hamilton rumbles in from 26 yards out. 13-0 Cass City at the break. In the second half, 2 more rushing touchdowns. Luke Stern and Nick Perry get in the action, and it makes it 28-0 final score. Perry leads the rushing with 20 carries, 108 yards, and 1 touchdown. Hamilton, 12 carries, 96 yards and a score, and Luke Stern, 63 yards and 2 scores, taking on the Lakers at home.
Oh, what a workmanlike effort, and all the excitement that we've talked about so far in the first 2 games that we covered. No excitement here. Cass City came in, did exactly what they wanted to do, spread the ball around, pitched a shutout. The last time these 2 teams met, it came right down to the final minute where Cass City needed a final minute touchdown to pull out the game. No such dramatic action here. You can't say enough about what Cass City did. This, to me, they're going in with full momentum, knowing that they nearly beat the Lakers the first time around at Lakers. If it wasn't for a false start penalty that backed them up 5 yards, we could very well be talking about an undefeated a Cass City team that was a Greater Thumb West champion. So it was that close, and they definitely want another crack at the Lakers.
Yeah, that loss may be a blessing for them in the long run, because that is just going to fuel this fire. They will not have to encourage these teams to get up for this game and play their hardest. But absolutely, Cass City dismantling USA slowly and methodically over 4 quarters. And it's good to see 3 different running backs find the end zone. My favorite guy, Nick Perry, leading the charge, 100 carries.
In his 7th year.
Was it 7 or 8?
Yeah.
I couldn't sure about the red shirt. 100 yards rushing, scored a touchdown. How about 16 tackles on defense? You can bet that this kid's been on this team for a long time, and he wants some hardware, and he's going to help lead this team. You don't see Santa Cathrall in those rushing. If you don't have to use your quarterback and put him in those situations, you certainly don't want to. You're starting to hear about Brendan Wisner doing more now as the quarterback. Playoffs are here and getting hit and making those plays. This is why you want to keep him healthy for this run. And certainly Cass City certainly looks like a team that not only is upset that Cass City is the team that wants Lakers. They want them real bad. They're happy it's at home, but they wouldn't care if it was in Lakers. They certainly want Lakers to come into their house and bring them everything they got, and it could be a really good game. We could be in for another back and forth game like we've seen on Friday night.
This is all set up for Cass City now. They're on an unprecedented run. This is their 4th straight trip to the playoffs, and they've been on this doorstep a couple of times, and they got their hearts ripped out a couple of years ago over in Sandusky. Absolutely ripped out. But now they have a chance to host one of these at home against your rival, the team that beat you for the Greater Thumb West. It's all there. It's all there for Cass City. It's all set up for them. Is this the year that they can finally break through? Because this has been the roadblock for the Cass City Redhawks over the years. And can they finally break through when everything is pointing to them being the favorite in this game?
Can they win the big one? Can they win a 1-score game? We haven't seen that. When they win 28-0. They win 30-14. Can they win that game? They had a chance to beat Lakers the first time. It was one play. It's get it done. And then what happens? Penalty flag. And those are demoralizing as a team. Can Cass City win that big game? It doesn't matter to me if Kretschmer's playing or not. Lakers is going to be a very difficult team to score on for anybody in the state that wants to come and play Lakers. It's going to have a hard time scoring points. Can Cass City's defense answer the bell and keep that game low scoring? If they can, I think Cass City can win. If it gets into a high scoring affair, watch out. Lakers are tough.
And our hats off go to USA as they finish the season at 5-5, and first-year head coach Josh Hahn doing a bang-up job over there, taking after coming off of a team that lost a lot of talent to graduation, replacing pretty much their whole front line, new quarterbacks, some new running backs, and they still get into the playoffs at 5-4. Impressive run for the USA Patriots.
Yeah, we didn't know what was going to happen with the amount of talent that they lost, and it was a ton of talent. And then you bring in a new coach. I think Josh Hahn did really well. They didn't miss a beat. They had to deal with some injuries. That injury to Cooper Caulfield, I think, really kind of changed their season and, kind of put them behind. That was their emotional leader and leader on the field. But, again, I think Josh Hahn did a tremendous job in his first year, and I look forward to more of what we can see from him in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. He did a very nice job, and I really like the offense he's running. I think this program, the whole unit, not just varsity level, but the lower levels, as they adapt this running style, I think more students are going to buy into it. I think the numbers are going to stay good, and I really look forward to seeing Micah Kramer in the future. I think he's got a really high ceiling potential to be a really good player, quarterback in this league.
And, of course, the game of the week on the WLW Sports Network is Lakers at Cass City this coming Friday at 7 p.m. Kickoff coverage starts at 6:05 p.m. with Clark Ramsey and Dave Hansen with your call from the friendly confines, the coziest field in the Greater Thumb Conference. Good to be back in that booth this weekend. It's 7:34 on Sports Radio 102.1. Well, for the first time in 10 weeks, it actually felt like a football season. It's currently 44 degrees at our east side studios of the WLW Sports Network, broadcasting live from the Clark Ramsey Manor. Life, liberty, in the pursuit of luxury. Book your stay today or like them on Facebook. That's the Clark Ramsey Manor. 44 degrees, and it's been a rainy, cold fall day. And in fall weekend in Harbor Beach as well. And we have meteorologist Paul Janis standing by with your forecast. Paul. Left side or right side, you're listening to The Strong Side on Sports Radio 102.1, home of the WLAW Sports Network, broadcasting live from our East Side studios in Harbor Beach, Michigan, with Clark Ramsey, Dave Hansen from the Huron Daily Tribune, and Paul P. Adams. It's now time to shift our attention to the 8-player game, and we're going to cover the North Huron Warriors and Peck Pirates from playing last Friday. And this was a good one. 7:17 left in the first quarter, and Peck gets on the board first with a Tanton Sarnak 9-yard run. The 2-point conversion was good, making it 8-0 Peck. And then North Huron responds with a Mike Craig 60-yard run. 2-point conversion fails, and Peck's hanging on to that 2-point lead. And with 3:53 left in the first quarter, Babcock throws a 60-yard pass to Nolan Sarnak. 2-point conversion fails, and Peck's out by 8 points again, 14-6. In the second quarter, 10 minutes later, 2:08 left in the first half. North Huron, Mike Craig with his second rushing touchdown of the night, this time 41 yards, 2-point conversion's good. And we get to halftime tied at 14 apiece. In the third quarter, Peck has a touchdown, 2-point conversion fails, back out by 6 points, 20-14. Entering the fourth quarter, 21 seconds into the last quarter, and Mike Craig with his third rushing touchdown of the night, 5 yards out. 2-point conversion is Craig himself, and puts North Huron up by 2 points, 22-20. Peck then has a 3-and-out, a fumble, and a turnover of downs, and with 4:02 left in the fourth quarter, North Huron throws in the insurance run with an Austin Levine touchdown. 2-point conversion failed. North Huron 28-20, but that's all that they would need as North Huron takes out the Warriors or Pirates by 8 points, 28-20, to advance to take on and host the Bay City All Saints for the second time in 3 weeks.
This was a very gritty, gutty effort for the Warriors. The first time they faced Peck, they steamrolled them 22-0. It was not that easy this time around, but they leaned on their playmakers. And obviously the biggest playmaker they have on the offensive side of the ball is Mike Craig. The kid's a stud. 24 carries, 225 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 long touchdowns of 60 and 41 yards. And then on defense, I mean, pick a player on defense, but that defense is led by Andrew Pichette. 14 more tackles and a sack in this game. He's got over 150 tackles on the season. He's an absolute monster on that defensive end. And really, you throw in the guy likes of Tom Toner, Frank Duda, Austin Levine, throw them into the mix, led by a guy like Austin Pichette. And the defense is really what kind of led to this comeback for North Huron and kept their season alive.
I'm glad you mentioned the comeback. After 3 quarters, Peck was leading this game. So in a game where Peck didn't score the first time they got North Huron on the ropes. But in the fourth quarter, when it got down to the nitty-gritty, Mike Craig's able to find the end zone. Austin Levine able to put the icing on the cake. And then North Huron survives a scare. But again, a good team finds a way to win with good defense down the stretch, doesn't allow any points, forces a couple turnovers, 3-and-outs. And one of my favorite guys, and we don't really mention a lot, I like Ty Knobloch at quarterback. He does a really nice job. He's 4 for 8 passing, and to me, those 4 completions are huge. And not huge necessarily for North Huron, but they're very important for Mike Craig. That helps keep that defense stretched out a little bit, and that's all Mike Craig needs to break that next big run. And to me, he's crucial to this offense as well, throwing the football well and keeping defenses off balance. It doesn't have to be 20 times, but 8 passing attempts, completing 4 of them for 50-some yards is just enough to help out that running game. And I think he does a really nice job too.
And speaking of that running game, John Hoodie, he gets 61 yards on 13 carries, and it's not listed, but Frank Duda also. He wears number 63, so it's weird in 8-player football when you see number 63 carrying the ball, but he's eligible. He's a running back, and he carries the ball, and he runs it with authority because he's a big lineman type player, and he gets just enough carries to help keep that running game and take some of that pressure off Mike Craig as well.
So North Huron hosting Bay City All Saints this coming Friday. They just played in week number 9 a week ago. 56-46 was that final score as an offensive shootout. Peck, of course, finishes the season at, I do believe, 6-3, 6-4, somewhere in there. North Huron going for their first regional title since 2013, of course, after coming off of a outright conference title just a week ago.
Yeah, outright conference title, first one since 1994.
Are you sure about that?
I am absolutely positive about that. It was my senior year. I wasn't on the team, but I went to every single game and still best friends with some of the players on that team. But for Peck, future is bright for the Pirates. Very young team. I had a new coach this year. Very good numbers. So as we go into next year, keep Peck in the back of your minds. I think that could be a real sleeper type team in the NCTL Stripes division next year, because they're going to have some good seniors on that team and some good experienced players and good numbers. So Peck, to me, is a team to watch, and really, I thought came together as the season progressed. But this North Huron Bay City All Saints rematch, very much looking forward to it. I think it's going to have a different feel this time around. I really do. I think that North Huron defense, its pride was hurt a little bit the first time around, allowing those 46 points. And I would be surprised if Bay City All Saints is able to match that number this time around.
It's time for another short break. This past segment of the Strong Side was being presented by Thumb National Bank and Trust, going wherever you are with online banking in a mobile app designed just for you. Thumb National Bank and Trust, with locations in Pigeon, Caseville, Cass City, 2 locations in Bay City, and of course a location in Bad Axe. It's time for a short break. When we return, we'll take a look at the next week in the postseason right here on WLEW Sports Network. Left side and right side, you're listening to The Strong Side with Clark Ramsey, Dave Hansen from the Here and Daily Tribune. It's Paul P. Adams. This segment being brought to you by McCormick Motors of Pigeon, home of the honest sale. See Marion Shetler or Al McCormick today or tomorrow when they're open, and see why all roads lead to McCormick Motors of Pigeon. All right, let's take a look at the upcoming schedule here. In Division 2 of 8-player football, making their way to the Superior Dome in 2 weeks. That would be 3 weeks, excuse me. Kindy, North Huron, just for you, Paul.
Just for you, Paul.
Just for you, Paul. I did that. North Huron is hosting Bay City All Saints for the second time in 3 weeks, and then Flint International, House of Pancakes, taking it on the road. Hope to pack the syrup as they go to Portland St. Patrick in that one. In Division 1 8-player football, we have Morris traveling to Deckerville for a rematch in which Morris took the first one in Morris, and now Deckerville plays host there. And then Lawrence traveling to Bellevue. Bellevue down by Paw Paw, that whole area. Bellevue 57 points, Lawrence 30 points after they just took out 9-0 Camden Frontier. So then we move on to Division 8 football. One local team, the Harbor Beach Pirates, taking on the Saginaw Novell Panthers. The Catholics of Saginaw in hosting there over at Boyd Field.
Can I add, and just on the other side of the bracket, the state championship might be being played in the district final between Mendon and Muskegon Catholic Central. The number 1 and number 2 teams in the state are meeting in the district championship.
That's a shame. I hate when that happens, especially when they're on the other side of the bracket. In Division 7 football, we have 2 local teams. Cass City playing host to the Elkton Pigeon Bayport Lakers. And the winner of that game goes on to take on New Lothrop or Powamo, Westphalia. So, let's take a look, gentlemen, first, back in an 8-player Division 2. What are your thoughts here on this North Huron Bay City All Saints and Flint International in Portland St. Patrick?
Well, so tough for North Huron right now because for the second week in a row, you have a rematch. And rematches are just tough. As we saw, they survived. They found a way to defeat Peck, but it wasn't pretty. And now, again, you got to go against a quality opponent with Bay City All Saints that put the most points on you this year of anybody. And the good thing is you get to host it, but these rematches, I'm sure North Huron would be like, give us somebody new. We're tired of playing the same teams. We don't want to see Bay City All Saints or in Peck anymore. We want to see somebody new. So I think North Huron's definitely got their hands full in this rematch.
Man, there are a couple games this weekend that I think are just going to be dandies of ball games, and this is going to be one of them. This one's going to be a close game, a little higher scoring, probably not as high as the last one. I don't foresee it happening. I think defenses will be the focus on this team, especially for North Huron. We got to stay disciplined, make tackles, not give up the big plays. But I think North Huron's got a good chance to win this game, but obviously Bay City All Saints tough. And the other game, really quick, Flint International, still that team that's underrated, just keeps winning ball games and nobody mentions it. But if they get by Portland St. Patrick, that's another big upset for them on their way there.
I don't even know if I call it an upset. They're my favorite on this side of the bracket to go to the Superior Dome just because of the playing in the NCTL Stars, and they were able to be in the small division in 8-player. I think that gives them the tremendous advantage. And their only 2 losses are to Morris and Deckerville, which they put a ton of points on both of those teams.
And of the 8 teams remaining in Division 2 8-player football, 3 of them reside in the North Central Thumb League. Same is the case in 8-player Division 1. Lawrence, Deckerville, and Morris still alive. Lawrence taking on Bellevue, Deckerville hosting Morris.
Don't know anything about Bellevue. I'll be perfectly honest there. But Lawrence definitely going to have their Bellevue's attention after knocking off an undefeated Camden Frontier team. And how sweet would that be if Lawrence could keep this thing going and keep representing the NCTL. But that Morris Deckerville rematch, that's definitely the marquee game. The one that Deckerville's only lost, and they would love to have an opportunity to make up for that loss.
Paul, the only thing I know about Bellevue is one of my ex-girlfriends is from Bellevue.
Well, there you go. Now I know something about Bellevue.
Nice. I'm glad we got that out there and on the table.
Just wanted the viewers to listen to that one to know that.
But again, good for Lawrence. I would love if they were to beat Bellevue and have another local team still be in the playoffs. But no offense to them, this weekend's all about the Deckerville-Morris rematch in Division 1 8-player football. That came, again, wish we could be at all these games because I'm excited about all of them in their own right. And Deckerville here just salivating and get their chance back at Morris.
And remember how this game ended. This was a last-minute touchdown and 2-point conversion from Morris. Deckerville was still leading this game and had an opportunity to win even after the touchdown if they could have stopped the 2-point conversion. So Deckerville is definitely – this happened to Deckerville a couple of years ago too, where they lost to Morris in the regular season and then went on the road and smacked them in the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to smack them this time around. They'll settle for 1 point or 10 points. They just want to win and keep this thing going.
This is one of their biggest landmines on the way to the state final. If they can get by Morris, all road leads to Deckerville being there and trying to get themselves another championship.
And moving on to Division 8 football, the only team from the Greater Thumb Conference in this division remaining would be the Harbor Beach Pirates, and they take on Saginaw Novell. Now, granted, this is not the Novell of yesteryear, as they are scholarship-free now these days. And with now Aubrey Sims falling to Hillman this past week, Harbor Beach, if they get past Novell, there is a chance they could make it a pretty decent way here.
Well, if they get past Novell, guess what? They're hosting the regional. So they would not host the district championship, but they would host the regional and get either Hillman or Lincoln Alcona, which I think would be a pretty favorable matchup. And all of a sudden, we could be talking about the Pirates in the semifinals. But first things first, they got to do what's never been done in Harbor Beach history, and that's beat Novell. And I don't care if this is a Novell that's scholarship free or what. This is still Saginaw Novell, and it's an undefeated Saginaw Novell team, and that creates a certain aura and respect around it. And so Novell will be the favorite, but I think Harbor Beach has a puncher's chance, but they got to clean a few of the things up, especially, I keep thinking back to that third quarter, opening of the third quarter drive, when James Shelkey threw that interception. They got away with it, and Ubley didn't score, but a team like Novell could definitely make you pay for it. So you cannot turn the ball over at all, and you got to make every single possession count.
And I certainly think that was one of those an outlier, so to speak. I don't foresee James Shelkey rolling to his right-hand side, throwing across his body back into the middle of the field off balance. Excuse me, none of those really make sense. You never see James Shelkey do that. I think it will be mentioned, but I think it'll be water under the bridge at practice. But I certainly think Harbor Beach certainly has a good chance to win this game. And Saginaw Novell will be favored. There's no question about it. But from what we've been hearing is they have a very athletic quarterback, which so does Harbor Beach. So we'll call that a wash. So it'll be very fun to see how Harbor Beach responds to maybe the most athletic quarterback they've seen yet. How can they slow him down? That defense is going to be the answer. I believe that this offense, with Cole Anderson running well, has the ability to score enough points. Can they create turnovers or slow down Novell enough to stay in that game? Because looking at the rest of the bracket, maybe Iron River, West Iron County is the only team that really kind of is a playoff team that I remember seeing in the past that maybe would make you nervous. But
and look out for Gaylord St. Mary. That's been a program. That's been a program on the rise, and they've been kind of a steady rise to the top. They're undefeated this year, a ton of playoff points. So Gaylord St. Mary looks like on this side of the bracket too. But the Blue Bloods in Division 8 are all on the bottom side. But
look at some of the scores of those games. Nobody really blew out anybody, which means to tell me a lot of evenly matched teams. And for Harbor Beach's case, they're the same. They beat an Ubley team 30-22, a very evenly matched team. But you get by Saginaw Novell, and same thing for Saginaw Novell. They're thinking we get past Harbor Beach. We certainly have an opportunity maybe to go down and play where the Lions play.
One thing to leave you with on that Novell roster, I was able to track down the roster. The regular season roster has 29 players. 14 seniors, 5 juniors, and 10 sophomores on that roster. Only 5 are listed above 200 pounds. And, of course, the game of the week on this WLW Sports Network, the Elkton Pigeon Bayport Lakers traveling to Cass City for the rematch 6 weeks in the making. The Redhawks hosting the Lakers this Friday. Game you'll hear on Sports Radio 102.1 and live and worldwide at WLWsports.com. Coverage starting at 6:05 p.m. on Sports Radio 102.1 with Clark Ramsey and Dave Hansen calling that game from the coziest booth and field in the Greater Thumb Conference.
Well, I know this. I'm already starting to think about the media roundtable, and I'm gonna be first up on the tee, and I'm gonna be waffling all day long, going back and forth on this game. A lot of pressure on me to make the right pick, but this is a tremendous rematch game. I was just commenting to somebody the other day. I can't remember the last time I've been to Cass City to cover a game. Just with my duties as sports editor, I don't get out to Cass City as much as I'd like. We get our sports writers out there, so I'm looking forward to being back over there. And it's going to be an absolutely great atmosphere for a high school football game. That stadium atmosphere over there, Lakers is going to travel, Cass City's going to be there, and there's no love lost between these two teams and communities. So it's going to be everything you want in a high school football district championship game.
We always it is a cozy confine up there. We've always been treated well. It's always been a lot of fun. They're always very welcoming. So we didn't get to call a game there this year, so I'm happy we get a chance to get over there.
Very much so.
Same with Harbor Beach. We got to go there. We didn't think that was going to happen either at this time. So we get to at least spread the wealth a little bit, go to different places. So I'm excited to go to Cass City and see that game. And on a personal standpoint, I hope Jake Kretschmer is even close to 80% so he can play in this game. Adds a whole nother dynamic to this game, but it's going to be close whether he's playing or not. Can't wait to see it.
And, of course, like we said, that game on Sports Radio 102.1 and live and worldwide at WLWsports.com. Check Facebook and Twitter for all of the updates, of course, as we have running tallies throughout the game and other area games around the area. Thanks to all of our people who sent in the stats, of course, from Thumb Tailgater, Great Lakes Sports Network, from the Here and Daily Tribune, of course, a big staple in that, and everyone working together in harmony. Appreciate that as well. So we'll see you on Friday for the game of the week with the coverage right here on the WLW Sports Network. Clark Ramsey and Dave Hansen. Doug Cole's unfortunately gone, but we got a good replacement, Dave. We're bringing in a CFO. This is going to be good. So we'll keep you in tune on that on Friday. So on behalf of the entire crew here, tonight's segment of the Strongside was being presented by Active Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine, McCormick Motors and Pigeon, Randy's Hunting Center, Thumb National Bank and Trust. Ensure better health, better life. Are you sure? I certainly am, and we hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. We will see you on Friday for the district championship in Division 7 football right here in the great state of Michigan, in the Thumb of Michigan. You're listening to The Strong Side.